All right. Hello. Hello. Welcome to the Museum of Glass. So we're going to scoot all the way down, all right? So if we can stand up, we're going to go all the way down so everyone can sit in the first row. Welcome to the museum, though. Hello. Hello. All right. Well, hello. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. You guys having a good day today? Hey, yeah. I hope everyone's having a really good day today. However, our team is going to get started here right away. Real quickly, I do just want to explain what's going to be happening here today. Along the pedestals, we see these very fancy goblets. We're going to go ahead and produce one of these for our lovely visitors, for our school group. We are going to make one of these here. It's going to be a little bit different, but we see some examples also on the pedestal. The glass makers will use that example, but we are going to bring one of these together to make one of these goblets. We do it in two separate steps. First, we will make the cup, the goblet head, which is the martini glass. Once we are complete with that, we will then make the stem, and after the stem, we'll go ahead and join everything together. So real quickly, now that we know what's being made, I do want to introduce you to the Hot Shop team, the Hot Shop itself, and all the equipment that we have here, all right? But real quickly, my name is David. If you guys have questions at any given time, you guys can ask me, okay? Sounds good? Sounds like a plan, right? Well, right? What's your name? It's totally fine. So real quickly, if you haven't had a chance to look up, I do recommend it. You are inside of the Museum of Glass Hot Shop Code. Now, from the very outside, it looks very different, but the inside is gorgeous and beautiful. However, I do just want to introduce some of the stuff that we have here, just so we know what's going on down here on the Hot Shop floor. Remember that all the glass that we are going to be working with today is going to be pulled out of our furnace. So I'm going to open this furnace. Although we're going to use the furnace on your left-hand side, what's going on behind this door is that there is a hot bowl of soup. You can think of the furnace here as a mini volcano, essentially. It's about 2,100 degrees, or the same temperature as molten lava. So the glass that we work with here is extremely, incredibly hot. But our glass makers down here are professionals, and they know how to work with this material. They've been working it for quite some time also. Throughout the day, I'll be introducing you to each and every single one of them. Like Ben Cobb down here, our gaffer for today. That gaffer is that person in charge. But Ben right now, he's just going to roll back and forth on that steel table to shape the molten glass that he has. So remember that this glass that you see right here, that is the actual glass that we see all along the pedestal. Remember that right now it's going to look red and orange due to the heat of the glass, but other than that, it will be clear. If Ben wants to blow a bubble, he will blow a little air. He'll put his finger over the blowpipe. The air will expand. And since we created a closed atmosphere, the air will want to push. It will pierce the glass and cause a little air bubble. Now that we have a beginning air bubble inside, Ben will now do a little bit more shaping, but he's taking a reheat in what we call the glory hole, and it's the chamber we use to reheat the glass. Remember, when it's out here, it's going to cool down. It's going to get cold, and if it gets too cold, it can break. Our piece can just end up on the ground, shatter. So if we want to continue to work with it, we will need to heat it back in the glory hole. It's approximately 2,300 degrees, so it's slightly hotter than the furnace. An added bonus that Ben has done is he's entered an optic mold. This creates a handful of ridges on the very outside. At that same time that this is going on, notice that Sarah's blowing through the blowpipe. And this is the actual part of glass blowing. We're expanding the bubble you now see. If you're wondering how much air Sarah blows, she's blowing about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. It's not a lot of air, but it does vary. You're listening for very small keywords like blow softly and blow hard. So a good majority of you are for. We do have a program here called Kids Design Glass, and each and one of you guys can participate in this program. If you can draw something, whatever you want, this Museum of Glass Hot Shop crew can make it. So you guys will all have the opportunity to go to our education studio, draw whatever you like. If you win, we will make 2 pieces, one for you to take home and one for our collection. This program is completely free. So again, I expect everyone to submit a drawing there to that program. You have a question? You have you guys have questions? My name is David, remember, okay? You can always ask me what's going on. What makes the furnace burn? So here at the Museum of Glass, our fuel source is natural gas. That's a great question, by the way. But yes, here at the museum, we burn natural gas. Remember that the furnace down here is never turned off. This furnace runs continuously 365 days a year, so it's never turned on. It's been running for over 7 years now, straight. Down in the center, we brought over a small little patty of glass to create a little transition. I'm gonna bring around a cup, and we can see that transition that Ben has already created. We see this little small clear part. We call that the volio, the very small transition section. But that's what Ben just completed. He finished that transition. So the next step we will take is to go ahead and switch it, transfer it onto a different rod. This is what we made to you right here. Little bits of black. I would pass this around, but it is a little sharp. So unfortunately, I can't. So this is what we added right now, this little clear part. See here? Well, the next step is to transfer it onto a different rod. We're gonna bring over what we call a punty. Sarah is standing by with that punty. We attach it, and it's now time to break the previous rod we have. With the little tap of the cold tweezers, the piece will be shocked and it's broken free of the rod. You have another question? The gas. I just want to say natural gas. I don't know if there's something else. But here we also use forced oxygen, forced air. Do you hear a weird sound in here? Yeah, right? You guys hear a weird sound? Does everyone in here hear this whirling, buzzing sound in the hot shop? So natural gas is a low-burning fuel, so you need a lot of oxygen. So we use forced oxygen to really build up the temperature here. So that sound that you're hearing is the blower. Chances are, if you go to another hot shop powered by natural gas, you're going to find a very similar white noise. Okay, so what do we have down here? So this is another glory hole, but this one is a lot larger. For some reason, if someone's gonna come down to the museum and they wanna make the biggest thing ever, they wanna make something huge, we'll go ahead and turn this one on, and we can see how large this one is. It's so big that I can fit myself in here. That's how large this is. Right now, we're using the one in the center. It's quite large, but it's not super huge like this one. Since this one's larger, it does use more natural gas. But if you ever come to the Museum of Glass and you see this one turned on, you're going to have a really exciting show going on that day. But every single day is a good day here at the Museum of Glass. Well, this goblet cup is complete. We'll tap it free from the rod. And the next step is to set it into the garage. The garage is a temporary place where we can store the glass and keep it nice and warm. Now that we are complete with the goblet cup, we'll go ahead and move on to the stem. Once the stem is complete, we'll go ahead and attach it to the goblet head. Again, what makes these goblets so difficult is that the fact point that there's so many different places where a mistake can happen. If you break down the goblet on our top screen, we're going to give you a breakdown of a standard goblet. Every single part is added one by one. And if we mess up in any small little portion, like the little disc, the transfer disc, well, we might have to snip that free and start all over. Or even worse, trash the whole piece and start all over again. And that's what makes these goblets so incredibly difficult. Here today, all the pieces that you see here being made are prototypes for our Red Hot event. Our Red Hot event is our biggest fundraiser that we host here at the Museum of Glass. Right now, we're currently creating prototypes. All the ones that you see on the top screen are prototypes. The ones that we like, we'll go ahead and choose it. We'll create 50 of the goblets and 25 of the decanters. Do you have a question? How does it get the color? Oh, that's a great question. So the color typically happens very early in the process. Right now, we're not working with color. We're working with straight clear glass. But I do want to take a second, explain color. On our top screen, we have a quick video entitled Color Overlay. So let's learn how we apply color to the glass.
The color in glass comes from adding various materials to the mixture of raw ingredients called batch. Most of the colorants are compounds containing some kind of metal. For example, adding cobalt to clear glass creates a deep blue. Tin and antimony can be used to create white glass, and gold chloride can produce a rich red or pink colored glass. Colored glass is melted in furnaces, just like clear glass, and then is usually rolled into bars for storage and easy application. In order to apply color bar to a bubble, we first need to preheat the color to approximately 950 or 1000 degrees Fahrenheit in a color oven or garage. Once warm, the color is then picked up on the end of a punty rod using a little bit of clear glass as a support. The color is then heated in the 2300 degree glory hole to soften it and make it malleable, while another artist creates a small bubble of clear glass on a blowpipe. Once warm, the color is dropped over the clear bubble, and then using a variety of hand tools or the steel marver, the color is rolled back over the clear in an even layer. This process is called dropping color, or creating a color overlay. Depending on the project, that bubble is then usually gathered over with clear glass and blown into the final form. The finished product may appear to be all made from colored glass, but when viewed in cross-section, we can see that there is only a thin layer of color sandwiched between many layers of clear glass.
So that color overlay process is happening in all these pieces. Again, there's clear glass on the surface that magnifies it, makes it look like it's a solid color, but in reality, there hardly ever is. Down in the center, we've seen that Ben, our gaffer again, has decided to make another goblet head, the top portion. By doing this, we can have a variety of different goblet heads that we can choose from when we create the stem. So there's a lot of glass down here because we use quite a lot here at the Museum of Glass. The glass that we use here looks a little bit different, though. It looks like a little ice cube. You put that in water and you can trick someone into thinking it's ice. But anyways, the glass that we melt here is soda lime glass. It's the most common type of glass that there is. I can't hand this out, but I can hand this out. So this is the color bar. This is a solid color. You can pass that around, okay? Just don't drop it. But the color, the clear pellet glass is soda lime glass. To make this glass, we're melting a handful of different materials from silica sand, soda ash, and lime. Those three materials that we melt here give us the glass that we use. Remember that the glass is specially formulated for offhand glass making, which means it's made for us. It's made to stay in a molten state for a longer period of time. So why is this building so tall? Well, of course, it does look iconic. It is iconic to Tacoma and our surrounding area. But the reason that we have this cone-shaped design is there's a handful of different reasons. First of all, this is a very functional hot shop. Now, the best time to be a glass blower is during the winter when it's super cold outside and it's nice and hot inside here. But here at this museum, it's all year round. Due to this cone-shaped design, hot air can rise. We have a giant fan on the top that just sucks the heat away, allowing us to stay nice and cool all year around. Another reason we have this cone shape is that Tacoma was founded on a logging town. Here where we are located, there was a handful of wigwam burners or big beehive burners. You can see a picture of them on our top screen now. They used to scatter this area where we are now located, the Foss Waterway. Just like the logging industry, they are no longer here, but this museum was built in also that memory of the wigwam burners that used to stand here. All right, so since we're gonna do something special for our school group down here, as we continue to make those goblet heads, I'm gonna ask our top screen to focus on the little stool that we have here in the front. If you guys are right here, if you guys want to show your friends or your family something unique, you can get your smartphone out. You know, record this portion. The action will be happening down here. Again, for our AV staff, our action will be happening down here. We can see Gabe coming over here. He's going to manipulate a little mass of molten glass for us to see. Oh yeah, it's gonna be hot. So it's about the same temperature as molten lava, so remember that. You can't touch the glass. So it's kind of, so what happens is, instead of us making melting handling the same quantity of they put all the Any guesses? Any guesses what it is? It's okay, you can just shout them out. Go ahead, shout it out. It's gonna be a fancy cup. Well, that's gonna be a different cup that I've ever seen, but any guesses? Keep shouting them out, guys. It's totally fine. We're all friends here. Any guesses down here? Go ahead, just shout it out. I'm sure I heard everyone say it correctly, so Gabe is creating a small little pony for you all down here. Notice that the glass is cooling down faster and faster. At this state, the glass is quite cold, so Gabe will do the final little touches that he can do before the glass completely freezes over. Or solidifies over, I should say. Now that pony is still quite hot. I'm pretty sure if we brought over a piece of paper, it'll catch it on fire. So that pony's still gonna cool down. It's gonna join all its friends in our stable that we have down here, our little farm. We have all different sorts of animals like little swans and ponies, giraffes, and all these wonderful animals. Sweet. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This will give you a solid look. This will give you more of a spotted look. This one you have to preheat it, so 20 minutes. This one you can use right away. Take on each one. All right, so we can come down to the center. This is like the best seats in the house. So we can come around also to this end. I just want to give you guys the best seats, that's all. All right. Well, this is exciting. This is really exciting for us down here at the museum also. I hope you guys had a great flight down here, or you guys did? All right, good. How fantastic. Well, Welcome to the Museum of Glass. I want to thank you all for joining us. You guys came such a long way to come see us, so it makes us really happy. So since all of you guys are advanced, you guys can always ask me, and not just me. We also have the Hot Shop crew. If I don't know the answer, we can always ask them. We can always pick their brains also. Again, this is really special for you guys. So if you guys have any questions, you don't just have to ask me. My name is David. However, we can also ask the Museum of Glass Hot Shop crew. All right, but everyone having a good day, right? You guys having a good day? Can we introduce ourselves, everyone? So my name is David, Nick, Freddie, James, Ahi, Ani. I'm sorry, Ani. Tori, Julie. Nice to meet you, Julie. Hi. Julie, nice to meet you. Sandra, Olivia, Courtney, Monique, Cheryl, Russell, Shauna. All right, well, welcome to the Museum of Glass once again. Real quickly, I just want you guys to say a little bit about what you guys like to make, right? It's really important, so we can start all over again and just name. What's your favorite thing to make? You like making cups? You like bowls, Persians, bowls? What's your go-to, You have 30 minutes in a hot shop. What are you going to be making that day? Torch work? Borosilicate, my man. Make vessels? What kind of vessels? We vases, amphoras. You like nice shoulders, small foots. Torching? Boro, yes. I've only done it a little bit, but I have so much appreciation for you guys. I can't, so my hands get really tired like 20 minutes in, and I don't understand that. I don't know, but glass blowing, it's just a hard. But it's like easier because you got to sit down, right? I don't know. What about you? It might be an excuse. I'm sorry about that. Paperweights, those are nice too. Oh my God, you can create some nice stuff. So what about you guys? What is your go-to? You guys have 30 minutes in a hot shop. What are you going to be making that day? You guys make your own marinis? Mm-hmm. Oh man, you guys are advanced too. Marini is super advanced. Congratulations, by the way. I would love to see all you guys' work at one time, by the way. Like, this is amazing again. No, it's totally fine. Hello, welcome to the museum. Are you guys part of our school group down here? All right. My name is David. I don't think we introduced each other. Milena, Kate, what do you guys enjoy making in the hot shop? You guys borosilicate workers? Mm-hmm. Paperweights? No, it's all good. We all start from somewhere. Well, down here, I'm going to introduce our hot shop crew. You guys may have heard of them. They're quite known. We'll start off with Sarah Gilbert down here. On our top screen, we're going to show some of Sarah's work. Sarah's been working with glass over 18 years now, and later on, she's going to be heading off to be giving a demo at the Murano Gas Conference, which is pretty exciting. But on our top screen, we're going to see a little bit of Sarah's work. Sarah's work is a little bit different. She applies the color right on the very surface, and then using grinding wheels. How many of you guys like the cold chop? Maybe one of you? Yes, okay. Cold chop for life. Cold chop for life. Anyways, Sarah works in the cold shop. She uses centuries-old glass carving techniques to get rid of the color on the top layer to expose the bottom layer. You guys, which is pretty unique. And we can see here she uses a lathe in her own home where she creates. Okay, I definitely will. Here, give me a couple seconds here. But now that we know a little bit about Sarah, we're going to introduce Ben down here. Ben's another professional glassmaker with over 25 years. On our top screen, we are going to show some of Ben's work so we can get to know Ben a little bit more. However, Ben just came back from teaching a class at Penland School of Craft. which is quite amazing. So the crew that we have down here is incredibly talented. Again, you guys may have heard of them already. If not, I'll introduce you to them one by one. But on our top screen, we are seeing some of Ben's work. So here the museum is going to be putting together one of these goblets that you see on our pedestals. So every year here at the museum we have our Red Hot event. Do you guys do a fundraiser every year where you guys auction off some of the glass you guys create, right? I'm sure you guys do. So we have one of those, just a little larger scale. All the artists that come through the museum also donate a piece, and we create 50 goblets, all unique. And then we will create 25 of the decanters. Now, on our top screen, we're going to show you a handful of different designs that we have done. So far, we haven't chosen exactly which one we're going to be selling that day. We've been making prototypes. Whichever one that we like the most, we'll go ahead and produce that one. However, right now, we're still in the process of just creating prototypes. So we're going to be putting together one of these goblets for everyone here. Have any of you guys ever tried making goblets before? They're really complicated. I don't even try with them. They're so hard. But again, it just takes a lot of practice. Practice makes perfect. The first one's not going to come out good, nor is the second one. But it's okay. Over time, your hand skills will develop, and you'll get better. One real quick advanced technique. Remember that if you're gonna create a texture on the bottom foot of a goblet, the gaffer should always stuff it. I don't know why. I was always told that if you're gonna go into an optic mold for the base, your gaffer needs to stuff it. He'll stuff it. He'll present everything to you. Then you'll take that back and heat it up. Again, that's just for our advanced students there. A little added detail of what's going on down here. But with that bubble, I'm sure you guys may have seen how a goblet is made. With the blown foot on the very bottom, we'll split that in half and open up the remainder half. So you guys are going to be visiting Hilltop. So Hilltop Artists is an amazing program. I myself grew up through that program, which is quite an amazing. They have 2 hot shops. They have one in a middle school and one in a high school. You guys going to visit both of them too? Right on. Please say hi to Tony. Wilson High School. Remember, Tony. He's going to be really buff. He's going to be the buff glassblower there, right? Tell him David says hi. Anyways, but yeah, Hilltop has 2 different glass studios. They're really nice, by the way. I don't know how your studio looks like. I'm sure it's quite amazing, too. Every single studio is amazing, right? It was new this year? Wait, you guys got to show me photos. You guys just said you guys got a brand new hot shop this year. Anybody got pictures? Any videos? You guys have an Instagram I'm going to have to follow here after. What kind of equipment you guys have? What are rolling you with? 24 torches? Oh, man, that's a professional studio right there. So we're gonna go ahead and bring our goblet head together. So down here, we've already transferred onto a different rod. Ben is doing a slight adjustments. Sitting in our garage, we have the goblet cup. It's staying nice and warm. Now Gabe's gonna go ahead and lift it up. Before we bring anything out of the garage, we lift it up. Remember that the flame is located on this end, about 1,000 degrees, or a little bit hotter than that. So by lifting it, hot air likes to rise, so by placing it in that corner, we can get it even hotter than that 1,000 degrees. At that same time, Sarah's standing by in the furnace. Everything will come together as once. By gathering a little bit of glass and using it as glue towards the tip, it will fuse both pieces of glass together. So the next step is to set it into an annealer to slowly cool down. A little bit of water on the very tip. We can see Gabe here standing by with the fork. We're going to go ahead and load it off into an oven sitting at 920 degrees Fahrenheit. And on its way to the annealer. So I am going to introduce two other glass makers that we have here on this hot shop floor. We do have Gabe Finnan down here. He was the one that brought over the little fork, and some of you guys may have been in contact with him. But on the top screen, let's show some of Gabe's work just so we understand him a little bit more. He's been working with glass for over 20 years now. Let's see some of his work on our top screen now. On top of the garage is all our little, so we make a bunch of these cups. Sometimes we don't use all the goblet heads, so we leave them up there. We also have a bunch of small little ponies and figurines. But as the team is transitioning over, I want to show you a quick video on our top screen. It's the team creating an airplane, a glass airplane. So it was a very special commission that the Museum of Glass did. And I just really want to quickly show you this video because it's like my favorite video. It's like one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen coming out of this hot shop. But on our top screen, let's get our video for our warehouser.
To fabricate a scale model float plane out of glass takes tremendous effort. Figuring out the exact proportions of the propeller, the length of the body versus the wingspan were all extremely difficult. The Legacy project started off as a collaboration between the Museum of Glass and the Murdoch Charitable Trust. We were commissioned to design and fabricate a glass airplane to commemorate Jack Murdoch. We started by overlaying two contrasting colors of glass that would later show the design elements in the plane. we're working with the glass at a temperature of over 1500 degrees. We create a small color cup to allow for a nice even distribution of color. The colored cup was then stuffed with clear glass to give us enough mass to make the body or the fuselage of the plane. Glassblowing is a team effort. Here at the Museum of Glass, we're unique in that this team has been working together for over 10 years. Each member of our team played a specific role in the creation of the plane. We use a variety of tools to shape and design the body. As you can see here, we're using some cork paddles to rough it out. The body is then transferred to yet another blowpipe so we can finish up the tail of the fuselage. Using those same cork paddles, we give the bottom of the plane a gentle curve before it's put away. After the plane is finished being formed, it's put away into an annealing oven to cool for several days. Once the fuselage was made, we moved on to making the pontoons. We decided we needed to fabricate a steel mold to allow us to make multiples. In order to have the pontoons match the plane, we used the same white color bar. This time, it is solid. The solid glass is then heated up to approximately 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it's pressed into a steel mold. The pontoons are then put into another annealing oven to cool down. In our cold shop, the fuselage of the plane is now being ground or sanded down to remove any unwanted material. We then taped off the plane, and using our sandblaster, we revealed the tail numbers, the windows, and the pinstripes on the fuselage of the plane. The sandblasting process is often very rewarding, as the color is quickly revealed, bringing life to the aircraft. After being sandblasted, the planes were then returned to the cold shop to be cleaned up and polished. The wings, the vertical and the horizontal stabilizers were all water jet cut out of handmade sheet glass, again made from the same white color to match the body of the plane. Once the glass parts were finished, we fabricated a small steel structure to hold the pontoons to the body of the plane. The nose cone was turned on a lathe while the propeller was carved out of a sheet of steel to make a fully functional propeller. Now that we have all the parts of our plane, it was brought back to the cold shop where the assembly began. The vertical and horizontal stabilizers were notched out to fit the tail of the plane, while the wing was glued into place. The gluing process takes many hours. We start with 2 clean surfaces, apply the glue, and it sits for over 72 hours before a full cure. It was an honor and a challenge to work on the legacy project for the Murdoch Charitable Trust.
All right. So I just wanted to tell you guys that glass blowing has no limits. Again, we saw in that video. As long as there's an idea, you guys can make it. That's the most wonderful thing about glass, that there is no sky's the limit. So now checking back in with our hot shop crew down here, we've created another stem. This is going to be another clear goblet being brought together. We bring over the foot just like last time. This time, however, we didn't enter a mold. So everything that you see here at the museum, even on our top screen, we live stream through YouTube and our own website. So if you guys are ever bored or wondering what to do, you guys can always check out our live stream. We're always live streaming here, especially when we're open 7 days a week. We'll be live streaming every single day here at the museum. And again, you guys can always check us out through all different forms of social media, from Instagram to Twitter to Facebook. So we've been working with clear glass today. We're just letting our color heat up. So now that our color is properly heated up, we're going to go ahead and begin working with color. We are going to continue these goblet designs down here. We're going to try a handful of different designs to see which one we would like to pursue for our Red Hot event. But if you guys have questions at any given time, again, you guys are more than welcome to ask questions. I do recommend this top balcony. It's a great place to view the live glass blowing and take any photos or videos of the action going on. Oh, actually, hold on, guys. You guys are going to get something really special for all the students. If you guys can meet us down on the gate, down on the opposite end. Our very own Ben's going to give you a quick tour of the museum, by the way. So, yeah, this is that VIP tour I like to say. But, yeah, you're going to meet everyone across the gate. You guys can learn a little bit more about the hot shop, see what we run down here, see what we're packing. So this process that you're seeing is creating supios, small little color cups that we will use later on. By doing this, we can just create a handful of cups that already contain color rather than doing a color drop every single time. So for your school, I know you guys are limited on time. You guys have about 45 minutes for your class. So this is something you guys can always do. You guys can create a long tube of glass, have it all colored all the way through. You can spend one period doing this, and the next time around, you have a bunch of small little cups that you can pick up that already maintain color, so you can skip the color overlay process if you want a nice dense color all the way around. And you can even do a double overlay. You can create 5 little cups. That means 5 different pieces you can create off of one color drop. We are creating small little supio cups. These small little cups are used to create both the bottom and the top of our goblets that we make. However, after this piece, we're going to move on to a different project. We're going to be making a large piece after this. So again, when we're working with the glass, you can always check out the top balcony. It's a really great place to view the live glass blowing. But if you have questions, at any given time, again, my name is David, and I'm more than happy to answer any question that you might have. I will be talking about the glass blowing process. So if I lose you at any given moment, just raise your hand and let me know. So after we're done cutting these little sections off, we're gonna go ahead and make a giant wine bottle. Just for a heads up, that wine bottle's not gonna get done right away, but if you guys wanna stick with us, we're gonna be moving on to the big stuff here today at the Museum of Glass. And again, when we begin this process, I'll go ahead and introduce all the equipment, the whole crew that we have here. You have questions, you let me know. But again, we are going to be making a giant wine bottle after we are done with this tube of glass. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and start with our giant bottle down here. Real quickly, I just want to touch up on some of the stuff that we have going on down here. Remember, when we gather the glass is being pulled out of our furnace, which is on the left-hand side. But I'm going to open this one just so we can understand. They're both very similar. They're both holding approximately 1,000 pounds of molten glass. And that furnace is on 24/7, 365 days a year. It's about 2,100 degrees, or about the same temperature as molten lava. Once the glass exits the furnace, it immediately starts to cool down. At one point, it will become rock hard, and we can no longer manipulate it. If we want to continue to work with it, we will have to enter a glory hole or a reheating chamber. The glory hole is the fire we enter to continue to work on the molten glass. If you're wondering how the color is applied to glass, well, the color is always applied separately. Here in our garage, we have color that's being warmed up. Once that color has been warmed up enough, we'll go ahead and stab it up. We'll gather a little bit of glass to use as a support. We'll pick it up. And the next step that Gabe has now, with the solid color on the end of his rod, is to make that a little bit shorter, make it a little bit easier to handle. Right now, it's a quite large bar, so you want to shape it, manipulate it, make it a little bit smaller. But at that same time, Sarah has heating up a separate pipe. She's going to go ahead and gather a little bit of glass and create a air bubble, a small little beginning bubble. We will then drop the solid color, that white color, right on top of the bubble. Once that is complete, we'll spread that color nice and evenly around the bubble to create a nice thin layer of color. Once we gather glass on the surface, it will magnify the underlying color, make it look like the whole piece is solid. But now to begin this true step, Sarah is entering the furnace. Remember, that furnace is holding 1,000 pounds of molten glass. She's dipping the rod inside of the hot bowl of soup. By turning, she can gather the glass that she needs and maintain control. Once she feels she's gathered enough glass, she'll go ahead and come out, exit the furnace. Next step is to shape it and prepare for a small little air bubble, a small air bubble. Well, when we are ready, we're going to go ahead and drop that solid white color on top of the bubble that Sarah has. Remember that although we're working with white glass here today, for a good majority of the process, that glass is going to look red and orange. And that's due to the heat that the glass is radiating off. It always looked that red and orange, but that white color, we'll see when the glass is cooled down from time to time. Well, notice that the color is now going right on top. Sarah's going to snip that free, and her next job is to push that color layer nice and evenly around that bubble. It's very important that Sarah spreads that color evenly to ensure that the color will have a nice even density around the whole layer. Now, I did mention that this color was white. I'm going to take that back. This is not a white color. It is a more darker and denser. Once we snip that color free, I'll go ahead and tell you the actual color. I am sorry for that mistake, however, but we will still continue with the glass making process. we are going to produce a decorative wrap on the very outside. So to do that, we're using colored white glass. That's what's on the end of this rod. We encased it with a little bit of clear glass. That clear glass will just protect that white glass we have underneath. We will now go ahead and attach it to our core down here. We've shaped it, we've blocked it by turning back and forth in a wooden block. We can see now Ben, the gentleman, using a wet pad of newspaper to shape the molten mass. We're gonna get ready to add that white layer, or that white wrap. Hello, if you're just joining us, we are gonna be producing a large wine glass. A wine bottle, I should say. I'm sorry for that. But we are going to be making it quite decorative. So on my left-hand side, we have Gabe. He collected a little bit of white glass on top. We've covered it with clear glass to protect our white color. We're going to go ahead and attach it down here in the center. Now, my name is David. Again, just sit back, relax, enjoy your lunch down here. But if you have questions, always feel free to ask me at any given time. So what's going on, what you're seeing is that there's colored glass. So underneath it, that shape that you're seeing, that's the actual small colored bubble. On the very surface, we have clear glass, and that's what you're seeing, that hue. Right now, the reason you're seeing that is because we haven't blown it out. The glass layer is still quite thick. However, when we begin to blow up air and make it bigger and bigger, it gets thinner. You won't even notice that there's a clear layer. Even on all our pieces that we see here, all our fancy goblets, they look solid color, but in reality, they are not. There's just a thin layer of color. Clear glass on the surface will magnify it, make it look like solid color. Most glass that you have in your home probably plays the same trick. Although it is possible to have solid color, it is quite rare. The glory hole is approximately 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember that the glass is being pulled out at 2,100, so it's slightly cooler than the glory hole, but it's still about the same temperature as molten lava. So it is quite hot when we come out. This time we're going to add that crazy decorative wrap. It's just going to be a thin line of white glass that's going to be throughout the whole piece itself. And that's it. That's all we need to add, a little bit of white glass. Now, every color acts differently. That white glass is quite a dense color. Just like if you were to walk outside on a sunny day with the white shirt or black shirt, that white shirt, you won't absorb as much energy. But with the black shirt, you might absorb a lot more energy. Same thing here, but white, on the other hand, white doesn't like to absorb energy. That's a very stiff white. So when we place it all around, it tends to constrict the bubble. So in order to get over that, the glass makers will just get the glass extra hot. Kind of always think about that in the back of their head, knowing that that glass will constrict the bubble itself. So one of the shaping tools we use is a wet pad. a newspaper that we use down here. Now that's a handheld version, but when this piece gets larger, to really shape up the whole piece in general, we'll use a larger pad. It's just a full sheet of newspaper. Here at the museum, the Wall Street Journal works perfectly for us, but any old newspaper will do. We ensure that the top layer is always wet when we're using it, however. Now, the longer time Ben spends inside this glory hole, the hotter the glass gets, which means the more red and orange it will look. The more red and orange it looks, the faster you need to turn the rod to keep it on center. So notice the longer Ben stays inside of there, the more his hands are working to keep the glass on the rod. He got that extra hot again because that white glass is a quite stiff color. It doesn't want to move as much, so you need to really absorb a lot of energy to it. But by using a wooden block, we are ensuring that our bubble will blow out evenly all the way through. That wooden block is made out of fruit wood, and we love burning fruit woods here in this hot shop floor, due to that they just last a little bit longer than any other typical type of wood. The newspaper just shapes it. It's just a simple, it's the closest way we can touch the glass, shape it. So what's going on is when we're inflating air, it's gonna blow out to the path of least resistance, wherever the glass is hotter. So let's say, for instance, that Ben is only using the newspapers on the sides, but not the tip. So when we begin to blow air, the tip will be the hottest, which means the bubble will shoot forward. If we only, yes, exactly. So if we only paper the very tip, the shoulders, the bubble will blow outwards instead of forwards. And that's really a basic form, but Ben is continuing to shape that. If he sees that that bubble is blowing too much to one side, he can go ahead and fix that using that newspapers. The next step Ben is doing is he's just letting it cool down naturally. By letting it cool down, we're doing a handful of different things. A, we're giving ourselves the ability to gather more glass. The colder the core is, the more glass we can gather. And B, we can maintain more control. When we gather hot glass on that top layer, it can become difficult to turn it. So by having that cold core, it's just easier and it will absorb more of the heat. So here at the museum, both our furnaces hold approximately 1,000 pounds of molten glass. Ben is now dipping the rod inside of the furnace to gather an extra layer. If we want to make something large like we are doing today, we're going to repeat the step of gathering glass. When you first begin, the little bit amount of glass, if you want more, you just need to layer it. So the more dips you take, the larger the glass will become, eventually giving us just more material to work with. Just like last time, though, typically after a gather, we will use a wooden block, again, to distribute that glass all around nice and evenly around the bubble. And notice that layer of clear got even bigger. We can see that clearly. That core hasn't really gotten any larger, but it will all go away once we begin to blow air and everything gets thinner. So the glass looks like a little ice cube. It's soda lime glass. Chances are any glassware from your home is made from soda lime glass. So most common type of glass there is, but it's silica sand, soda ash, and lime. Those three materials. Silica sand. that newspaper, we ensure it's moist but not wet on that surface. Too much water can simply crack our vessel we now have. So we pat it down, ensuring that the water is on this under layers. Notice all this teamwork. Sarah's actually blowing through that blowpipe, expanding that bubble a little bit, ensuring that we have a smooth surface all the way around. For this next move, we're just gonna clean up the very bottom, ensure that we have a 90-degree angle on that very bottom, nice, clean, crisp edges. To do that, you notice that Sarah's really heating up the very bottom. When we exit, you'll notice at the very bottom, we'll have all that red and orange color. So it is now time to bring over the punty down on the left-hand side of the hot shop. Gabe had earlier made a skin. I had mentioned that this was just going to stabilize it a little bit, give us a little bit more working time. But Gabe brings over the punty, the new rod. Remember that that's only temporary. It will need to break later on in the process to finish our shape. But as of right now, we're going to go ahead and attach it, create a little break off, a place where the rod can be broken free. To break the rod free, all we use is a cold tool and a couple drops of water in that crevice we made earlier. That water will create a crack, but it will run along that crevice that we made earlier. For those of us who are just joining us, welcome to the Museum of Glass. We thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be making quite a large wine bottle here today. We will now begin to work really on the top half section. Notice that the bottom part, we're practically done. We're not really going to heat that portion any up. Rather, most of the heat will be concentrated on that very neck area. This move you're seeing here is called the center, to ensure that the piece is turning evenly and it's not wobbling on the rod. Notice that the gentleman in the sitting down, he's calling all the shots. Again, that's called our gaffer. The gaffer is the person in charge. And everyone's here to assist them. Everyone's here to help them out to achieve this bottle. We then have Gabe here with the black hat. He's called our pole turner. The pole turner's job is to get the adequate heat necessary, or the adequate heat that the gaffer calls for. Since we created that constriction towards that top, that break off, we've also thickened the glass up towards the top. So if we want to have an even thickness all the way around, we're going to have to pull that out. We're going to have to stretch it out and eventually get rid of it. Cut that thick glass right off the tip. If you're joining us, welcome to the Museum of Glass. We want to thank you for joining us. It's hard to believe, but an hour ago, this bottle that we have on the end of the rod was all inside of our furnace. Remember that here at the museum, both our furnaces are holding approximately 1,000 pounds of molten glass. But essentially, we built that up like a Q-tip shape. We built the glass that we needed. We added color. And then we blew that bubble out, stretched it out, and gets us to the place we are now. So any glass that you see on the ground is unfortunately thrown away. We don't recycle any of this glass because it does contain color, and also it touches the ground. We don't want to recycle it because it can contaminate the furnace and the 1,000 pounds of clear glass we now have. Well, this wine bottle down here, if you're wondering what will happen to this wine bottle, well, this is going to be part of our Red Hot event. The Red Hot event is our biggest annual auction that we host here at the museum. This one will be filled up with wine, and we will be auctioning it off later this year for that Red Hot event. Again, all proceeds for this fundraiser will go back towards the museum. We'll also be fundraising money by selling 50 goblets. Now, these are all designs that we're still prototyping with or playing around with. Here in a little bit after this is complete, we can show you some prototypes that we have of the goblets. Again, we've produced 50 of these. Then we have the decanters. We see some other prototypes on this end. The decanters will also be filled up with alcohol from a local distillery and then be auctioned off and sold off during our Red Hot event. So we've slowly been setting up our vessel, our bottle down here, but previously, prior to this heat, we were really setting up the shoulder and the neck area. But that area is completely done. We're happy how that transition looks from the bottle to the neck. So now that we're happy with that, we're gonna go ahead and really begin to focus on the top portion of the neck, clean it up, clear it up. Again, we are gonna be auctioning and selling this piece off later this year in our Red Hot event. As we continue to work down here in this hot shop floor, do we have any questions from our audience? You guys have any questions about what you're seeing? It's hard to believe, but as of an hour ago, this whole bottle was sitting in our furnace. We slowly added the material, the color, and then blew it up, expanded the bubble, and made it the bottle shape that you now see here today. Yes, so... Oh, so you're seeing a very critical move down here. We use that torch on the very punty, on the very back part. Now, the reason we're doing that is because that's the area that will always absorb the least amount of heat. When we enter the chamber, that back part is the last thing to enter and the first thing to leave, which means it's never going to be in that chamber as much as the neck will or the body will. That back area is going to absorb the least heat, so we use that torch to counteract the chamber, the glory hole. Ensure that that back part's staying warm enough so it doesn't crack. Remember, as we push on the glass towards the front, if we use a little bit too much force and that punty's too cold, the piece can snap free. It is only a temporary rod. So by keeping it warm, we're ensuring that it's not going to break just yet. Looks like we're quite complete here. Again, if you're interested with this piece, purchasing this piece, it will be going for sale and auctioning off later on this year in our Red Hot event. We are going to fill it up with a local wine, of course, before we auction it off. However, the next step we will take is to set it into the annealer. The annealer is sitting on your left-hand side with the green number 1. It is currently sitting at 920 degrees, and it's going to be the home of our wine bottle for the next 24 hours. Unfortunately, if we leave it out here, it'll get too cold too fast. It can break, crack, and even explode. Now, if we want to prevent it from breaking, we want to keep it, we have to slowly cool it down. Sarah down here has suited up in a heat protective layer. She has some Kevlar gloves, so we're going to go ahead and grab this piece, tap it free, and it's going to set it in that oven for the next 24 hours. Yesterday, we used the annealer on your right-hand side with the green number 4. Here we can begin to see some of the vessels, some of the bowls that we created yesterday. Water on the very end, a little tap, piece is broken free. And just like that, we complete one of those beautiful wine bottles. Can we give our whole crew a round of applause? They did an amazing job. Well, we do have a few minutes before we head off to lunch. So we're just going to make a quick little vessel for you, a quick little piece now. After we're done with this small little vessel here, we are going to break off to lunch. Remember that your pass is good for the entirety of the day, however, which means you can grab a lunch of your own. You can grab a coffee. There's these wonderful restaurants all around our area. And you can even go to our cafe where we have amazing food and also great coffee. But again, if you have questions at any given time, you can always raise your hand or shout my name. I am more than happy to answer any questions you might have. It's hard to believe, but even our bottle started very similar to the bubble we now have. Now, bench is shaped by rolling back and forth on the steel table, ensuring that our bubble will push forward. And for this piece, Ben's going to heat it up, but he is going to enter what we call an optic mold. The optic mold will create these ridges in the glass. I can bring around an optic mold so you can understand what kind of mold that Ben's going to be stuffing it into. The mold he's stuffing is a little bit more complex than the one I'm showing, but it is a basic understanding of what's going on. On the top screen, we see that image of the pineapple mold that we use. It just has a bunch of ridges. It dents the glass all the way through nice and evenly, and as we blow, it expands the air. What we're going to make is a simple cup for you all down here at the Museum of Glass. A quick piece. Now notice we created a constriction. Now it's the basic thing that we used to create that bottle on a smaller scale. So even with this cup, that constriction thickens up the glass on the very tip. So even with this, we will still pull it out and eventually cut it free, trim it right off. Since we no longer have a blowpipe, if we want to continue to inflate our piece, we will use a soffietto, just as a small little puffer we can use to inflate the glass. Just like the last wine bottle we created, if we leave this cup outside, it gets cold too fast, too quickly. Want to keep it, we will have to slowly bring it back to room temperature. A little bit of water, a little tapping on the end should break that rod, or break the cup free in this case. And success, just like that. With a little torch on the very bottom, we're ensuring that's going to have a nice flat bottom, nothing sharp to poke you or make you bleed. And just like that, that concludes our morning live glassblowing demonstration. Well, before we head out, do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions before we head out of here at the museum? Again, we do really want to thank you for joining us. Your pass is good for the entirety of the day. If you want to come back to the museum, I'm going to give you a heads up of what we're going to be making. We made a large wine bottle. We're going to go ahead and make another one, I believe, with different colors this time. You can join us for our second half as we make that demo of a second large wine bottle.